you want to get them going and start.
Yeah,
You can take on the first section and just dive right in.
I'm going to take the lead. Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Melanie Bruno. I am the Vice President and Senior Executive, Account Executive at MTD Marketing. I handle a lot of branding and deal with client relations, as well as handling a lot of other things at MTD Marketing. So, what we're here to talk about today is what you can do right now at home to help um, take the ease off of all the craziness that's happening in the world. As a business owner, hearing a stay-at-home order can be really devastating, especially when you're used to going out and handling your business face-to-face with people. So here are some tips that you can do. We're going to answer some questions if you have any questions, but these are honestly some basic foundational and strategic planning tips that we give to most of our clients, and we wanted to just give them away to everybody today so that as our way of helping out. So let's get started. Our first topic is going to be, what can you really do for your business at home right now? So I think a lot of business owners don't do this in the beginning, and it's really important. But figuring out what your mission statement is, your why it is that you are in this business, why you want to help people, and what your business does for people, your value proposition, and what you really bring to the table. So really establishing that in the beginning and getting that all written down and in a hard copy form, really, where you can build a strong base for your business around it is important. Do you want to add to that, Alex?
No, I mean I can't hit on that any harder because what's really important is when you get to the point where you're ready to run ads or maintain a social media presence or build a website even at that preliminary stage. You need to know those couple things when you want to know how you're going to portray your brand and your service or your product to your customer. So that'll come into play later.
Awesome. Cool. So next really important thing that you can do at home for yourself is going to be strategic planning, figuring out who those target markets are going to be, and who your target consumer really is. When we talk about your target markets and your target consumer, as a business, we like to think that everybody's going to be interested in what we have, but the reality is we're usually speaking to a select few type of people, and you can really hone in on specific demographics of the types of people that would be interested in what you're selling. For example, since I know all of you pretty personally, we can talk about Josh's business right now. Josh is a realtor, and where he may think that everybody is interested in buying a house, there's only a few type of people that actually qualify right now for buying houses. So those are going to be the people that you want to focus on and you want to really target, and that would be your target market. Now, in that target market is going to be a select type of target consumer. You could have a few different types of target consumers, and those target consumers can be, sticking with a real estate example, a housewife or a family who's looking to upgrade into a larger type of home, or someone who's never owned a home before and they're looking to buy their first home. So those are just a few examples of target consumers in a specific target market base. So that's another good thing that you can really hone in on in your strategic planning process, either in the beginning of your business, or even if you're a few years into your business or 20 years into your business and you've just never done it before. That's really something that you can do right now.
And just to add on to that, it's you have to identify all those customer segments, but then you have to identify, like, really take it to that next level and think about your different messages and the channels that you have opportunities on and how you can kind of intertwine those. And there's going to be similarities and differences between all of the different market segments. But if you can start by finding those similarities between multiple segments and finding major opportunities in certain segments, you can really kind of put yourself steps ahead.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome. And then another step that you can take right now is social media planning. So the reason why this is something that you can focus on now is because social media is free. And it's a really great form of advertising for being free because so many people are on it. We communicated through social media channels about this talk right now. So what's important to remember about social media is you want to focus on what you're communicating to those specific target markets that we were talking about, and how you're communicating that, and how it is that they really communicate as well, because that's going to be important with how receptive they are to your messaging. And then, like I said, who is hearing this messaging is going to be really important, because once you hone in on those target markets and those target consumers, you want to make sure that your social media base is the people that you're trying to speak to. You know, a lot of people go and they either hire companies that just get them a ton of followers that may not be the types of followers you even want engaging. It's not really about quantity, it's about quality. So this is a great time to really hone in on your messaging and who your followers are, and figure out the best way to communicate with them.
Yeah, and take that to the next level by looking at your competitors and see not only what are they posting, but how often are they posting. Because one thing that if there's anything to take away from what's going on right now in the climate of social media, it's that now that we're in a situation where the only channel businesses, the only outlet businesses have to reach their customer is social media, consumers are just getting flooded with content. And it's going to come down to the best content wins. So right now is a good time to really step back from that whole mindset of we need to post every single day. We need to post every couple hours. We want to be at the top of people's news feeds, and really step into that thought leadership category. Think about what you're putting on Instagram, what you're putting on LinkedIn, what you're putting on Facebook. How can you differentiate that content? How can you take it to the next level just to increase your engagement on each post? Because if you can have each post resonate with more people, you're going to find more success than if you're putting out a whole bunch of like kind of generic content that's going to get really stale eventually. And like I said before, consumers are flooded with it. They're going to become blind to it. And when you're putting up a lot and you're not getting a lot of engagement, those tricky algorithms, those Facebook algorithms, all platforms have them. They're all different, but you need to think about manipulating those a little bit and really driving engagement.
100%. Awesome. And so part of that social media planning is, that had a lot more to do with the strategy. But when you think of planning as a whole, what we really do with our clients is we get them prepared. So part of planning is making sure that you have, that content stocked up and that you're ready to go, and you have your captions and everything planned out in advance, so that you're not, I guess, what is the word? You're not scattered, and you're not, searching for things to post day of when you realize that you have a good opportunity and there's a holiday today, or there's something going on and you just thought of a great idea. You really want to spend that time, just like a normal work day, spending those hours curating a good content library and making sure that you have all your channels planned out that you're going to speak to people on. Because we like to say in the office, failing to plan is planning to fail, because that really is what you're doing when with social media. If you're not planning that out in advance, you are just setting yourself up as a business owner to be stressed out on the back and later on, when you have to go and eventually post all those things that you don't have readily prepared for you.
And right now it's tricky. And one of the things we were talking about before even coming live today was the situation that a lot of businesses are dealing with, where some are open and some are closed. And you might be thinking right now, well, we shouldn't even post on Facebook or Instagram because, we're not even open. We can't sell our product or our service. So what's the point? Well, maybe there's no point in trying to really drive your sales by posting regularly, but now it's time to really look at your content library and start building and beefing that up, so that when all this does blow over, you can have a really healthy couple months of really solid social media strategy and really drive your engagement. Because the biggest thing I can really kind of communicate to you from like, if you put your marketing hat on, and this is kind of complicated, so you have to take your business owner hat off for a second, put your marketing hat on for a second, and just look at the fact that the market's down right now. This coronavirus, it hit every industry. If you can't force people to buy right now. So what you can do is focus on how you're going to really capitalize on the rest of 2020 and 2021 to make up for the lost sales right now. In some situations, there are people that are prospering at this time, but a lot of people, if you can't even be open, then you're not going to be able to sell your product. But what you can really focus on is surviving through this, and what you're going to do to drive your sales and have sustained higher incremental sales the remainder of the year than you had coming into all of this.
Yep. Awesome. All right, so now we're going to get into the 4 Ps of marketing. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to either unmute yourselves, or there is a chat box that you can write any questions into the side. We are here to answer any specific questions as well. So, but on to the next topic, which would be the 4 Ps of marketing. Alex, do you want to touch on these? Because this is your bread
Yes,
and
I
butter.
thought this was kind of going to be an interesting concept to bring up. So the 4 Ps of marketing are a principle about, what is marketing, what is sales, how does it all fit into my business, and how do I drive, sales with these concepts. And there's 4 buckets. One is product, one is price, one is placement, and one is promotion. So if you think about what you're doing and lump it into those 4 categories, those are really where you have influence out, like where you have influence and you can really drive your sales. So is the coronavirus affecting that for your business? The product, your service, really that's not going to be affected unless you have to go all delivery, or for restaurants, or maybe you had to shut down. But that's kind of, you just have to be able to pivot and successfully deliver your product or your service to your customer. The price, unless you have really stiff competition right now trying to drive whatever sales there are, you shouldn't really have to affect your price right now. But your placement and your promotion are the 2 biggest opportunities you have to capitalize on this time. The placement, because people's routines were disrupted. People used to be driving home from work and they could pass your store, or when they're at work is when they're checking their email, which is a channel that you use all the time. But guess what, they're not at their office board when they're not actively working. They're in their kitchen cooking food, which they can't normally do, or working out, or playing with their dog. So you have to figure out how you're going to adjust the placement of your product to their new routine. You have to show them value in their new routine. So a lot of times, that's going to be right now. It's going to be, how does your product fit into their home and their home lifestyle, in this quarantine lifestyle? And we can't dig into a bunch of examples. If any of you have a specific example you want to talk about, we can. But they're all going to be different. And then the last is promotion. So you have to change the way that you're communicating with people. If you were running billboards, well, guess what? No one's driving up and down the road. So you have to think about that kind of strategy. If you're using social media, well, what are you talking about on social media? If you're promoting your business in the same old way, you're not going to get the same old results when we have a completely new situation and your customers are going through a completely new daily routine. So you're going to have to change that drastically in order to really communicate your message to your customers and have any influence over the situation.
Agreed. Okay, so all right, so I guess this is really kind of a specific question, but it would be looking at, how does this current crisis affect you, while looking at all of these questions. But we'll just move on to the next topic, which would be, how can we appropriately engage with our clients without being able to sell anything during such a sensitive time? So simple answer would be PR. So this is a time to get yourself out there. And I really want to emphasize doing what you can do to help, and never from a PR standpoint. You never want to really come off as, we're doing this to get PR, but at a time when all you can really do is help, figure out the ways that your company can help. This live was one of the ways that we thought we could go and help our community, was by providing some advice on things that we give our normal clients all the time. But there are ways that all different types of businesses can help. And we have a few examples here of some people in our community in Tampa providing supplies to either hospital workers or to other people who are essential in helping with the COVID-19 itself. A lot of alcohol companies and other companies have begun making hand sanitizers. We discussed, the opportunity of people who own cleaning companies or commercial cleaning companies going and cleaning playgrounds and cleaning public places, where they can kind of show that they're doing that and being a part of the help, donating food, spreading awareness, doing live videos and webinars, spreading awareness about your product and how it can help right now and help people, or just spreading awareness about what's going on itself, as long as you have accurate information and you're putting that out there. But virtual consultations for your business. We're setting up virtual consultations now, where we will talk to people over video chat. I know realtors who are doing virtual open houses and walkthroughs and things like that. So there's so many things you can do. Spreading joy. this is a great time where you can, if you're a humorous person, go and spread joy and laughter and happiness to people. Another example is I saw a video online of teachers that all got in kind of like a procession and waved to the students that they weren't able to see in their classrooms, and they missed their students. So they went down their neighborhood and waved to them. So there's a whole bunch of other types of things that you can do from, just helping your community right now and really showing that you're out there and you are, valuable as an asset and not just somebody that's trying to get money off of people, because that's big, especially at a time like this. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just add a couple examples of, things that we've done for some of our clients. So one of our clients in particular is an app that's for, the professional worker, and it's kind of like we won't go too deep into what the app is, but right now it's really good for the app. So how are we communicating in a way where we know people don't have money? It's not go buy the app, but it's about how do you adjust to this working from home life? It's striking conversation. It's kind of putting out thought-provoking, thought leader content that is stirring up engagement among that population that we're targeting. What's great is everyone's working from home right now. It's a major routine adjustment, as we spoke about earlier, that everyone has to make. And how are you doing with that? Here are 10 tips to help you with that. Another example is our chiropractic client. There are these standards that you can't have more than 10 people inside of a facility. So what they did was they set up an entire nutrition stand outside of their facility. So it's like an open air wellness bar, and they just come out and escort you in one by one, but let you hang out in a friendly kind of outdoor open air environment where they're providing food and drinks. And it's just a really good idea. And another thing that they did was they took a video where they had their staff behind them just walking around spraying Lysol and wiping things down as the owner of the practice spoke about all the steps that they're taking and the procedures to trying to protect their clients and make people feel safe coming in. Now that's a situation where their business is open, but if you think about situations where businesses had to close, there's resources that you can kind of reallocate. So the breweries, one of the examples that Melanie spoke before was making hand sanitizers. Some of the local breweries and distilleries are using their resources to produce that at a large scale and then giving it out for free to the population. The restaurants that have closed their their lobbies, and it's only either takeout, curbside delivery, or delivery period. A lot of things that they're doing is they're creating family bundles and they're creating frozen alternatives and like almost kind of taking that meal prep approach and then communicating to their community that they're providing those to try to keep food on the table, and they're making it like a PR spin. Now, the great way of looking at that would be, the best case scenario, you sell out all of your frozen food and you go into, the next chapter with an entire retail portion of your business that you didn't have before. The worst case scenario is you take all that frozen food and you go donate it to the homeless shelter and then take a video of it and talk about in 2 months from now, you can talk about how while everyone else was panicking and buying all the toilet paper, your restaurant was out donating frozen food and really taking care of your community and stepping up when they needed you. So it's really like every business has an opportunity to make a difference right now and do something proactive. And it's just kind of a matter of if you're going to sit back and let fate be fate, or if you're going to actually kind of encourage yourself to get up and do something and, and promote that. And people will respect that and don't feel, self-conscious about like, you don't want to seem, like you're just doing it for show. Like, no, like do something for your community, make sure it's valuable, and then promote that. And people will respect you and thank you for it.
I agree. Awesome. And so on the other side of that, so that kind of falls into communication. With that there's always advertising. Obviously, these options aren't available for everybody. Not many people can afford advertising, especially during a time like this. But if you can, now is a great time to do it. Now would be the time to do it if you can, because there is so much less competition. I know, Alex, a little bit more about that if you want.
The first principle is something, it's a quote that I quoted on my Facebook post earlier for anyone that saw that, but stopping your advertising to save money is like stopping your watch to save time. It just doesn't make any sense. Your advertising has a direct correlation to your pipeline of customers, which has a direct correlation to your sales, and cutting that off is just going to lead to less and less sales. And when this is all over, your customers who were communicating, there's the rule of 7. It's all about frequency. People have to see your brand 7 times before they know you. If you're on people's minds right now, and then you sit back and let this whole coronavirus wave come over and you're not active, and your competitors out there being active, and they deliver their ad and their message 7 times to your customer, guess what? You just lost yourself a customer. So right now is the time where you should be communicating, whether it is, a hefty ad budget or not. That's, going to come down to a very specific case by case scenario. But, digital advertising has never been cheaper right now, because all these restaurants, think about the amount of restaurants that were promoting their happy hour and promoting their new menu item and trying to get that daily foot traffic. The restaurants that require daily foot traffic make up the vast ratio of purchased ads, and that's just in the ad industry in general. So if you think about all of them pulling out, think about the amount of space that opened up. So an example is if you watch public cable like Fox or TBS or CBS or any of those just kind of like very mainstream channels, you've probably noticed that they've randomly just started posting these very generic coronavirus PSAs, like public service announcements that are like sponsored by the CDC, telling you to wash your hands, and you're looking at it and it's got no production value. It's really just a graphic with someone talking over it. It's like all that was a bunch of local companies canceled their ad spot. Spectrum or Verizon is sitting there with all of these ads to run and all this empty ad space. They can't just let you have, black time on TV, and they can't just speed up and increase the amount of shows because it goes by the watch list. So they just have to fill it with something. So they just make something. Oh, what's a good PSA? Oh, let's do something about protecting yourself for coronavirus. It's like, no, those spots are there, and because of that, they're cheaper. They don't want to just put up free PSAs for the CDC. Hell no, they want to take your money and run your ads. And right now, if you have ever thought about testing ads before, just to seeing if you can get a conversion out of them, like I don't want, I was thought about it, but I didn't want to spend $1,000 on ads right now in order to see a conversion. It's like, well, guess what? Right now, you might be able to get away with 500 and see that same as 1,000. It's like a 50% off trial offer. Like, do it. Like, there shouldn't be anything stopping you unless you're in a situation where, financial issues, but that's different. So
yeah.
Go ahead,
yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. And then another thing I added on here is a website revamp, and that also obviously has to do with, availability of funds. But if there was ever a time for you to have some a moment in time for you to invest some effort and, invest some money into your website, now would really be the time, because we just have the time to do it. And if you have had issues with your website, you have time now and you can fix it. So that was really all I had for that. But
it's not about just the website. It's more about your whole foundation of marketing, all of your channels, your website, all of your sales collateral, all of your print collateral. I mean, you have a solid, who knows how long until you're going to be back in business. But when you are, you have the opportunity to wipe the slate clean and come out with a whole new refreshed piece of content on every single channel. So, I mean, that's where you should be thinking is where did you, like, before this all happened, where did you wish you were? And it's like right now is a really good time where you can kind of do the things you didn't have time for before and really buckle down and kind of elevate your brand to that point.
Yeah. I think something you said earlier today, and actually you've said it a lot, but it's something to highlight on, is like, you can't recoup the sales that you've lost from this, but you can take this opportunity to really strengthen the foundation of your business and, blast yourself forward at the end of this, where other people may not have that same mindset or may not have the ability to do this. And this is your chance to really steal back that share of the market. Mm-hmm. So, and then, I had another section here for what can you do long-term. That's really going to come down to what we've been saying the whole time, which is that foundational planning. You need that foundational planning to build a strong brand that's going to last and is going to be scalable. It'll be easier to scale it when you have this foundational planning in place. This is one of the first things we do with any client that comes on board that hasn't done it themselves. So I highly recommend anybody that has a business do this foundational planning with your mission statements and your value statements and your value proposition, and really get that all handled and controlled.
And I was talking to a business owner earlier, who isn't a client, just a friend. If he was a client, I would have definitely been a little bit more pushy with my advice on this. But I was talking about what their long term plan was, and they mentioned, like, I don't know what it's going to be like after the coronavirus is gone. So I don't really want to spend too much time, planning for the unforeseeable. And it's like that is the complete wrong way to look at things. Like, the market's going to bounce back. Your customers are your customers. Are some things going to shift a little bit? Maybe digital will have to be taken a little bit more seriously, and things like apps and remote work and remote meetings might, become more popular. Yes, but people are people, and they're going to be the same people after this all blows over. It's not like this is going to last long enough to really change society as a whole, outside of just kind of basic sanitation practices and washing your hands. So, I mean, think about, like, go back and look at your last 30 days of social media posts going into or closing out 2019. Go look at all of October, November, and December of social media posts, or you can look at this same time frame, January through March of last year, and look at your average comments per post, average likes per post. What days are you posting? What times are you posting? And try to find similarities in, like, where you can kind of improve. And if you can say, yeah, if I would have done this differently last year and done it this way, I would have gotten more out of it. Well, that's the way you need to do it when this all ends, because things are going to go back to normal, and you have an opportunity to kind of create that infrastructure to do things right and better when this all is over.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the last opportunity to sit back and kind of be like, well, there's nothing I can do, because there's so much that can really be done. And so that's great to touch on. And then another one would be goal structuring. So a lot of times when we meet with clients for the first time, they don't really have an idea of what their long-term goals for their company are. So I think a huge part of any type of long-term planning is figuring out what those long-term goals are, where you see your company in, the next year, 5 years, 10 years, if you want to look that far. If your goals go that far with it, then make sure that you have that planned out, you have that decided, because that goes into your foundational planning. In order for you to be prepared to scale that to that level in the future, having that built into your foundation is really important. And then the last thing I have here is pricing strategies. So this is another thing you can look at for the long term. And this is obviously specific to each and every business is different, but this is a good time to look at your pricing strategy, and does it make sense? If you have, especially if you're new to business and, you have been having some issues over the last, year or few years or months, this is a time where you can really look at that and get down to the nitty gritty and figure out, what is the best way to adjust your pricing in order to keep moving forward in that long term and to be able to succeed. You want to add to that?
No, I mean, that just goes back to that, the foundations we were talking about earlier, customer segmentation, but another part of that would be competitor segmentation. So go do a competitive analysis and look at what your competitors are charging for what specific prices. What is the scope of their service for what prices? Where do you line up as far as value, as far as, your operating expenses, and where can you go, with your pricing, and just kind of try to make a smart decision. And if you have any kind of questions as to the math behind that, please reach out to our team, because there's multiple people on our team that can help you with that, including myself, and I'd be happy to help any of you with it.
Yeah.
So, so I wanted to also talk about a couple action items that you could take moving forward. So, but beyond everything that we were mentioning about the planning and the foundation, people are at home right now and they have more time than ever, and they're looking for distractions. So something that would be a really good idea is do a little market survey. Go to your customers that you engage with on a regular basis and survey them. Ask them firsthand, which you may never have done before in the past. Ask them, hey, before all this hit, what was your favorite part about coming to my restaurant? What was your favorite menu item? What is your favorite, ask them, who's your favorite person that's on my team that you deal with on a day-to-day basis? What do you like, ask them for that kind of feedback, because that stuff is invaluable to you. When you see our posting on social media, like, which ones do you like to see? What do you think I should post more of? People are sitting on their couches looking for distractions. I promise you'll learn some stuff there.
Yeah, I totally agree. Awesome. Is that the last action item you had?
Yeah, I mean, that was just something that came to mind and during this
Yeah,
last session, and I just thought about it. Ask
yeah,
them about when you're doing pricing strategy. Ask them, hey, if I were to offer this discount to returning customers on a regular basis, you know, as a member or something, you'd be able to come in and get this discount. Would you do it? How would you feel about that? You know, get feedback. Now is a great time because, especially if you're closed, because you know they can't necessarily take advantage of it if it's too good to be true.
yeah. Good. Awesome. All right. So, well, we just wanted to come on and really share this with you guys. We didn't want to make it a super huge production, but we just figured this is a good way for us to give back. We are doing free consultations over Zoom. So please feel free to reach out to any of us, either through a message on Facebook, or you can find our emails on there somewhere as well, I'm pretty sure. So
And
if
they're
you,
on our website. We have contact information on our website.
there you go, on the website, go to mtdway.com. It has all of our information there. Again, thank you guys so much for stopping into this. I appreciate it. And I hope you learned something from this and we were able to help ease your mind a little bit and give you some action items to move forward with through this crazy crisis that we're going through. So again, thank you. Be safe. Alex, thank you.
Have a good one, everybody.
Goodbye.